He slammed the door in my daughter's face, said the restroom was for customers only. She cried in the back seat, humiliated. I said nothing, just left. Hours later, that same man was trapped under falling beams in a fire. And, without thinking, I shielded him with my own body. The man who humiliated us now looked up at me, bleeding, breathless, and speechless. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. My name is Connor Blake. I'm 38 years old, a single dad, and a contractor in Millstone, Pennsylvania. I don't have much, but I've got a pickup that runs, a 6-year-old daughter who still calls me Daddy when she's scared, and hands that can build anything except a way to fix a broken heart. That Saturday morning was freezing. Winter had dropped its shoulder into our town like it had a grudge. Snowbanks lined the sidewalks like frozen walls, and the cold came in with each breath like glass. Harper, my daughter, had been holding it in for half an hour. We'd just left her school's charity toy drive. The cocoa had made its way through her tiny frame quicker than I'd hoped. Daddy, she whispered from the back seat. I really need to pee. There weren't many open places at that hour. So I pulled into the nearest thing I saw, a fire station. It was clean, lit up, looked decent. She was jumping by the time I unbuckled her. I carried her up the steps fast. A tall man with a shaved head and broad shoulders stood near the door, clipboard in hand. Uniformed, tough-looking. Hey, sir, my daughter just needs to use the restroom. She's 6, I said, out of breath. We'll be in and out. He looked at us. Her tiny red cheeks, her pink gloves, her hopping feet. No public access, he said flatly, pointing to a laminated sign. Try the gas station. Man, she's just a little girl. I said no, he cut in. Policy's policy. Harper clutched my leg. I didn't argue. Didn't raise my voice. Didn't want her to see another man yell at her dad. We left. Found a gas station 5 blocks down. She made it. Barely. But she cried while washing her hands. She said she felt dirty because people don't let dirty kids in nice places. I hugged her in the car for a long time. Told her she wasn't dirty. That some people forget their hearts when they put on a badge. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, her tiny form curled beside me on the mattress. I thought about that man, his face. How quick he was to say no. How easy it was to dismiss us. And then came the sirens. 3 streets over. Then 2. A fire. A real one. I could smell it through the cracked window before I heard the first explosion. Instinct kicked in. I yanked on my boots, kissed Harper's forehead, and ran. Smoke rose over South Main like a ghost. By the time I got there, half the street was bathed in chaos. Flashing red lights lit up the snow-covered ground like a crime scene. Crowds had gathered behind yellow tape, necks craned, faces pale from more than just the cold. A 3-story brick building, a small apartment complex, was burning from the inside out. Windows on the 2nd floor were already shattered. Smoke curled like black fingers into the winter sky. Firefighters were shouting to each other, stretching hoses, checking gear. One yelled up toward a figure still on the 2nd floor balcony, frantic, waving, coughing. I pushed through the onlookers. My work jacket still had reflective strips on it. Maybe that helped. Maybe it was the panic. But I slipped past the tape. Hey, someone barked, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. Then I heard it. A snap. A loud, groaning crack from above. One of the overhead beams on the front side, split from heat and weight, was teetering, ready to fall. And directly beneath it, that same firefighter. The one who had turned us away. The one who stared me down like I was less than. He didn't see it. He was helping another man with an oxygen tank, too focused on his partner to notice the blackened wooden beam above, shaking loose. I didn't think. I sprinted. My boots slipped once on the icy pavement, but I caught myself. 10 feet. 5. I dove. The beam dropped like thunder. I slammed into him with my shoulder, shoving him sideways hard. And then it hit me. Fire kissed my back. Pain shot down my leg. Wood splintered beside my head. I hit the pavement with the weight of a refrigerator, but I was still conscious.
Barely.
I blinked. Smoke. Sirens. Screams.
He was looking at me.
The man, his face, a blur of soot and shock, leaned close. You, what the hell? Why would you? I didn't answer. I couldn't. My ribs felt crushed. He grabbed his radio. We need medics.
Now.
Civilian down. Repeat, civilian down. I woke up to a steady beep. A plastic tube in my nose. Lights too bright. Hospital. The scent of antiseptic, bleach, and cheap food trays. Then, Harper's voice. Daddy. She was beside me, holding my hand. Her little body wrapped in one of my flannel shirts like a blanket. The nurse smiled faintly. You're lucky, she said. No internal bleeding. Just cracked ribs, mild concussion, and a second-degree burn. You're going to be okay. I blinked again.
Groggy.
Then he walked in. The firefighter.
Clean now.
Out of uniform. A small bandage on his arm. Hat in his hands. I didn't know it was you, he said quietly. The guy from earlier. With your daughter. I didn't respond. Look, man, I didn't mean to be cruel. I've seen drug addicts use that excuse before. Kids as cover. I made the wrong call. I didn't need his explanation. I didn't want it. But I let him speak. You saved my life, he said, swallowing. I owe you more than I can ever repay. Harper looked up at him, cautious. He knelt beside her, suddenly small despite his size. I was wrong earlier, he said gently. You deserved better. I'm sorry I made you feel like you weren't welcome. She stared at him for a long time, then whispered, It's okay. My daddy said people can change. That broke him. The man who turned us away was crying now, in a hospital room, for a little girl's forgiveness. The next few days blurred into each other, pain meds, bandage changes, and Harper sneaking candy into the room like it was a game. But what didn't blur was the way the firefighter, whose name was Eric Hale, kept showing up.
First it was just a check-in.
Then it was bringing Harper hot cocoa from the cafeteria. Then a children's book. Then a snow globe from the gift shop. He never stayed long. Just enough to show up, say he was sorry without words, and leave. Until one evening, 4 days after the fire, he asked to talk. I was sitting up, the pain dulled by time and morphine. Harper had fallen asleep with her head on my thigh, her curls rising and falling with every breath. I was raised in this town, Eric said from the corner. Been a firefighter for 15 years. I've seen a lot. Too much. I nodded.
Quietly.
He looked down at his hands. I don't know why I said no to you that day. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I was just being a cold-hearted jerk. But I saw her face after. Your daughter. And I thought about it the whole day. I shifted, careful not to wake her. You didn't owe me anything, he said, his voice cracking. You especially didn't owe me your life. But you still threw yourself into that fire for me. I stared at him. That's what people do when they see someone about to die. They help. He flinched. Even if that person was unkind, he asked. Especially then, I said. Because if we only save the people we like, then we're no better than the ones who turn away. He sat back in the chair, like the weight of that truth hit him square in the chest. Then he said something I didn't expect. My little girl would have been Harper's age. I turned sharply.
She passed.
2 winters ago. Asthma attack. I wasn't there. I was stuck in traffic after a call. Never got to say goodbye. That's part of why I'm the way I am. Shut off. Cold. I breathed slowly.
Carefully.
Loss had a way of carving people hollow. Your daughter reminded me of her, he said, eyes glossy. Maybe that's why I shut down. Didn't even realize I was doing it. We didn't say much else that night. He left quietly. But something changed after that. The fire chief called me a week later. He said the department wanted to recognize me for what I did, maybe even give me some kind of community award. I turned it down. I didn't save Eric for recognition. I did it because Harper was watching. I wanted her to see that kindness isn't always about who deserves it. Sometimes it's about who needs it the most. 3 weeks later, Harper and I were back home. Bills were tight. I'd missed some jobs while recovering, and clients had to move on. One snowy morning, there was a knock at the door. Eric stood there again. But this time, he wasn't alone. He was with the fire marshal and the mayor. "I hope you don't mind," he said. "We have something for you." Behind them, a van pulled up. Inside, new tools. High-end. Brand names I'd only dreamed of owning. All donated. All labeled for Blake Contracting. "I asked around," Eric said. "You saved my life. The least I could do was help you keep yours running." I blinked, speechless. Harper clapped beside me, her tiny hands flying in joy. But Eric wasn't done. He knelt beside her, pulled something from his jacket. A small patch. Fire department logo. Her name embroidered on the side. "Honorary Junior Firefighter," he said, smiling. "For bravery, kindness, and reminding an old man how to be a better human." She hugged him so tightly his breath caught. A month later, life had slowly returned to normal. Or a better version of normal. Work had picked up, thanks to the tools, the referrals, and Eric pulling strings with every client he knew. Harper had a new nickname at school, Little Fire Chief. She wore that patch on her backpack like it was the Medal of Honor. But what stuck with me most was what the fire had started, not ended. It opened something inside Eric, something he'd buried with grief. And watching that man begin again, brick by emotional brick, was like watching someone rediscover the sky after living underground. He called me once a week, sometimes just to ask if I needed anything, sometimes to invite Harper and me to Sunday pancakes at the fire station. She adored him now. The same man who turned her away was now her hero. Funny how time rewrites the stories we think are set in stone. It was a chilly Thursday when Eric got a call during breakfast. He was halfway through pouring syrup on Harper's pancakes when the station alarm blared. Multiple car collision, someone shouted from the kitchen radio. South Ridge and Holloway. Unknown injuries. Eric stood so fast his chair scraped the tile. "Connor," he said without thinking. "Come with me." I blinked. "What?" "You're still cleared as a contractor. We need an extra set of hands. Might need to break through wreckage before medics get there." I hesitated. "Harper can stay here," he added. "Chief's wife will watch her." 10 minutes later, we pulled up to one of the worst accidents I'd ever seen. A pile-up, 4 cars, one flipped, smoke billowing from beneath the hood. A small SUV lay crushed against a pole. Inside, a woman bled from her forehead, barely conscious. I jumped out with Eric. No one noticed I wasn't in uniform. No one cared. Chaos didn't ask for ID. We pried the door open together. I climbed halfway inside, unfastened the seatbelt. Eric braced the wreckage. "She's got a pulse," I said. "Weak, but it's there." Then I heard it. A voice. Tiny. "Mommy." Behind the driver's seat, wedged between metal and fiberglass, was a toddler. No older than 3. Terrified.
Crying.
I froze. It felt like Harper's voice. Eric's hands shook as he reached in, knuckles white. "You get the mom out," he said. "I got the kid." I nodded. Minutes passed like years. Then he pulled her out. A tiny girl, soaked in tears, arms flailing. She latched onto his neck like it was all she knew. And for a moment, Eric just held her. He didn't cry. Not this time. But when he looked at me, his eyes said everything. This wasn't just a rescue. It was redemption. That evening, he stood outside my truck in the parking lot. "You know," he said, voice low, "when I saw her back there, something came back. Something I thought was gone forever." I waited. "My daughter's name was Riley," he whispered. "She used to clutch me like that after nightmares." I didn't say anything. Just let the silence honor her. "She would have been proud of you today," I finally said. He smiled. "She would have been proud of you too." We drove home in silence, the good kind, the kind where 2 men didn't need to say out loud what they both knew. That life is cruel, sometimes. But sometimes it gives you a second chance. Spring came slow that year, as if winter wasn't ready to loosen its grip. But the ice eventually melted. The snow gave way to slush, then puddles, then patches of green fighting through frozen soil. Harper turned 7 the week the sun finally stayed out past 6. She didn't ask for toys or parties. She asked if we could invite Eric. Only if he brings the red truck, she said with a toothy grin. And pancakes. He did both. That morning, we sat on our front steps, me, Harper, and Eric Hale, eating pancakes off paper plates while the neighborhood kids took turns pretending to steer the parked fire engine. For the first time in a long time, there was peace. And laughter. And no sirens. Later that evening, just after Harper fell asleep with syrup still on her cheek, I heard a soft knock on my front door. I opened it expecting a neighbor. It was a woman, mid-30s. Professional clothes, but her eyes were puffy. Tired. There was something guarded in her posture.
Hi, she said.
You're Connor Blake, right? I nodded. Yeah. She glanced down, then back up. My name is Erin Palmer. The woman you pulled from the crash a few weeks ago. I blinked. I got your name from the hospital, she said quickly. I hope that's okay.
I just needed to see you.
To say thank you. You don't need to. No, she cut in, eyes glassy. I do. You pulled me and my daughter out of something we wouldn't have survived. You didn't even hesitate. I stepped outside, suddenly overwhelmed. She fumbled in her purse. I know you didn't do it for money, but I wanted to give you something.
To help.
To say this changed our lives. She held out an envelope. I didn't take it. I appreciate it, I said gently, but the only thing that matters is that you both walked away. She smiled, shaky. My daughter keeps asking about the man who saved her. She says she remembers your eyes. Said you looked like her teddy bear. Warm and a little sad. That made me laugh. Maybe cry, too. A little. Could I repay you another way? She asked. I run a design firm in the city. We contract build teams. I'd love to bring you on.
Full-time.
High pay. Benefits. Stability. My throat caught. Harper deserves the world, she said. And I think you do too. 3 months later, I was on my first commercial construction site with her team, blueprints in one hand, clipboard in the other. Harper had her own desk at the office, stocked with crayons and pink folders. And every Friday, like clockwork, Eric stopped by with pancakes. He wasn't just a friend now. He was family. That fall, Harper had to write a school essay. My hero. She didn't write about a princess. Or a superhero. Or even me. She wrote about a firefighter. The one who once said no. The one who became yes. The one who taught her that even people who get it wrong can still make it right.